What up, what up, what up? As you can see, this camera still don't want to act right. So we're going to be on this camera, but we're going to make it work. So I wanted to ask this question, and this is a genuine question, but I'm going to talk about some of my thoughts for Pitti as I've watched it now for 10 years. I still have not gone. Should guys be going to, sorry, wanted to fix that real quick, make sure we're clear. Should guys be going to Pitti? Now, for any of the non-stylish or stylish novices, Pitti Uomo is a really a conference. It's a buying opportunity for most retailers in the European market primarily, but some American markets will go there for new brands, European brands that they can utilize for their purchases for the upcoming season. So right now they would be buying for fall 2025. They're getting their deliveries for fall winter 2025. So I'm sorry for fall winter 2024. So 10 years ago when I first started watching Pitti, it was a very like sartorially driven, stylish experience. And now it feels like it's fashion week for Italy. And there's not as much sartorial inspiration collectively. Before there was just a lot of like different ways to wear suits, different stylings for sartorial artistry and what it represented and how it was being utilized. And now it's just kind of like a lot of nonsense. So if you've been rocking with me for a little while, and even if you haven't, I was talking about the consciousness of style or a concept, and then we start to talk about how that is utilized for your closet or for your construction of your style, and then ultimately what that communicates about you. So I kind of wanted to do that with Pitti, and I'm going to do a video. I think I'm going to do a video on why I don't think you should go to Pitti for style if you're going for like stylish inspiration or to be around quote unquote stylish guys. But I'm curious, do you guys who are in the style space want to go to Pitti? Are you interested in going to Pitti? And if so, why are you? You can leave some answers in the chat, and I'll definitely read them out because I'm curious. For me, I'm not really interested as much as I used to outside of one reason, going for one reason, and that's because I would like to see some of my homies that I know that live in New York and a few other friends that are overseas or that I follow to really have a conversation with them, meet them, interact with them. But outside of that, I really don't have the same desire to go to Pitti as I used to. Like when I first started watching Pitti Room, I was like, man, I gotta save, I gotta get to Pitti because that's where all of the stylish individuals are. Now it doesn't really feel like that's the same dynamic. So when I think of Pitti, I often think about high level style quotient, high level style perspective, high level experience when it comes to style, and what that means when you're putting a ensemble together. Because people at Pitti are similar to how it was to me with New York Fashion Week years ago. They have the ability to influence and to change the trajectory of style, right? Of the lexicon. Appreciate Max Pitti. You were just at Pitti, so I would love to hear your thoughts on whether somebody should go to Pitti, and if so, why they should go to Pitti. My man Max Pitti was at Pitti, looking fly in that space, and so there's leverage there for a lot of style influencers, but also style influencers in the truest sense, not the style influencer who has 100,000 subscribers and they're following the guy who may only have 2 or 3 thousand subscribers or followers, but they have a true sense of their own style. This is for the style influencers who people may fashion forecast for. right? I saw a lot of shearling this fall, winter, in the images, a lot of shearling coats, a lot of leathers, moto jackets, in those spaces. The silhouette was much wider as we have seen that sartorial paradigm shift to from slim and taper to now fuller cut. So all the fashion forward people or the fashion aware people were very much on that trend. I saw a lot of fur, surprisingly, in that what people were leaning towards, and then I saw the whole cowboy motif showing up. Surprisingly, though, I really believe that my homeboy, I have a homeboy, Austin Robertson. If you follow him on IG, he has the Gentleman's Avenue. Really was kind of one of the catalysts before that. I know Beyonce did the whole cowboy look, but they had done that, I believe, 3 years ago. They had this cowboy look. He had leather, turtleneck, jeans, cowboy boots. Really effortlessly did that look. I thought he was going to stick with it. He didn't, but it was a great look. And so now I'm seeing all the guys wearing cowboy hats. I saw my man Pharrell rocking his cowboy hat. So all these trends are now being projected in Pitti. My homeboy, Mr. William Dingle, went to Pitti as well. I would love to hear your thoughts on if guys should go to Pitti, and if so, why? Why they should go to Pitti? Um, Especially stylish guys, specifically talking to the stylish guys, so that I can get some insight because again, I have not made it there. Gene Jr. says a lot of Western and old Ralph Lauren or Ralph Americana for sure. So I don't. First and foremost, I don't want any guy, and this is for the safeguarding. It's not to diminish your experience or to tell you not to go, but I really don't want any guy who's starting his style journey, his or her, for the conversation with it when it comes to Pitti, going to Pitti to garner inspiration. And the reason why is because I feel like it's a dangerous game that you're playing. A lot of these guys, when I was reviewing and looking at their fits, looking at their looks, I started to realize that a lot of them were going there to be avant-garde, to be to put on a costume of sorts, and it wasn't really true to who they were. And there was a guy that I used to follow. He's not on Instagram anymore, and his name is escaping me. But he lived in Utah, and his name is escaping me. Very, very intelligent guy, and he was saying that when he went to Pitti, he would throw on stuff, and when he saw guys, most of it was a costume. And I disagree with him at the time, but that may have been my hubris as a guy who was kind of on the upward trajectory of style. Now, as I'm getting older, I start to realize you can see the guy who really wears what he's wearing at Pitti, and then there's a guy who went and had some stuff custom made specifically because they were going to Pitti. You can see the guy who is going to Pitti to work, right? But he's fly, he's stylish. And then you can see the guy who went specifically to Pitti, hoping that he is going to get Kurt out of Utah. Thank you. Not Kurt. Who was the other? Who was my other guy? There was another guy. It was Kurt, and there was another guy who wrote. He wrote a book, Powerful Style, I think is what it was called. It's a great book. And his name, Dirty Socks. My man, Dirty Socks, brought him up. And just so you know, we're everywhere right now. So in that space, it looks different. And so for me, with Style Architects, our goal is to help men find their signature style. And so I'm always inspired by the guys who go there and who are authentically showing up as themselves. And I appreciate the guys who are going there trying to get seen, because some of those guys deserve to be seen. But it's always an interesting dynamic consciously for the guy who is saying, I hope that I get recognized. I hope I start getting the attention that I feel like I deserve. And for the guys like Luca Rubinacci or Lino Aluzzi or forgot who my Asian guy is. These guys just show up and they're like, this is what I wear anyway. I wore this last Saturday. but I'm wearing it for here. Mr. William Dingle says, I feel like stylish guys definitely should. It's definitely a good way to see yourself if you're really as like that as you think you are. I think so. This moves to the construction side, right? This is still partly conscious because I think that's a very interesting dynamic, right? That I just heard from the comment. A lot of guys will say, I'm trying to make sure that I'm like that. An interesting thing happened for me when I went to Italy for my 40th. We went to Rome and then we went to the southern part of Italy. I found myself in that space where I said, yo, I'm going to Italy. Man, I got to be on point. I got to make sure the suit is right, man. I got to have my. And then we get there and I realized, well, like, especially when we walk in the streets of Rome, these guys live this. And even though I lived it, I was trying to put on a show. I was trying to show out and show off instead of show up as me, as my signature style. And this is the dangerous thing about going to Pitti is that you feel like, and this happened to me also in New York for Fashion Week, because I have gone to Fashion Week, several Fashion Weeks, and that was always the thing when I first was showing up. I wish I knew how to work StreamYard better, and I'm still working on it, guys. It'll be much better. But I have this picture on my Facebook page. Maybe I'll put it on my Style Architects Facebook page so you can see it, where I have on this Persian lamb vest, mink collar, right? That really was not well done. I didn't finish it properly. It was a lady's coat that like I remixed because I was doing something cool for New York Fashion Week. I have on a beaver fur hat I still have, but it's fitting really, really low. And then I have on my Ralph Lauren window pane, double window pane, gray flannel and cashmere, double breasted. I have on like a tie, I think, and turtleneck, and like these cool boots. Now looking back, I'm like, yo, you was doing the most, like, and that's not really a good look for what I would wear now, right? It's fine for where I was then, the chapter that I was in my life. But now understanding my style, my authenticity, that's not really something that I would throw on. And so I had a friend who was there. He threw on something that was so fashion driven, it made me feel like it wasn't him. And it was because he was like, yo, I'm at Pitti, so I'm doing Pitti things. And I was like, nah, bro, you too cool. Like, and this is a cool dude. So I was like, you too cool to like to put yourself in a space where you are acquiescing to fashion instead of saying, yo, I'm gonna be me. This is who I am. This is how I show up. This dude looks dope Monday through Friday in Atlanta, in New York, in DC, in Tallahassee, right? Like he just kills the game. You know, you don't have to really do too much. So it always throws me when a guy is buying all these things, because my second question often to these guys is, when are you going to throw this on again? Now, when you get back to, Hershey, Pennsylvania, that, you're the fashion guy, are you going to throw that back on with the same level of confidence, or now is this going to sit in your closet? Because then if it's sitting in your closet, then it wasn't worth the investment that was made. Mr. William Dingle say, Mr. Will Dingle, sorry, I'm mispronounced what you said, but also networking is top tier. Nothing like getting face to face with the people you follow on social media, food places where you can see Italian, British, and American tailoring side by side. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad from a constructive and communicative standpoint. That is a reason to go, right? The networking component, depending on why you're networking. Because that's the other thing. When I've had guys who I interacted with, when we started talking about networking, are we collaborating on something? Do we have the same perspectives? And this is where, when you're starting to construct your network, you're starting to construct your community, you start asking this question, or you hear that quote, be careful about meeting your heroes, right? So when I moved to New York, I met several people that I was following on social media, whether it was Street Etiquette Gang, Joshua Kissy and Travis Gums, whether it was Carl Edwin Gear, who I've known now for almost 15 years, and that amazing personality, right? So I had great meets. My man Terry Colbert, uh, when this one for punks, right? In that early space, all these amazing guys. And then I met some people that I was following on social, and I was like, I didn't need to meet you. I didn't need to meet you. Because the networking, aside from networking, they were just assholes. So I'm not even going to mention their name. But it was also like when we would network with different things, at the time, I wasn't a good network because I didn't really have anything to offer. I'd been in, New York Times style section 4 times, but I wasn't doing anything with that. I didn't really have any direction for where I wanted to go. And so then it ended up being a space where we were all kind of on the ground level, but these guys are starting to elevate and I'm not elevating with them. So then it becomes a question of, if we're networking, if we're going to collaborate, if we're going to converse, if we're going to commune, what are we doing and how am I helping these other gentlemen elevate, right? How am I growing with these other people? Because otherwise I'm just a fan who's meeting somebody that I admire. There's nothing wrong with that either, right? That's never a bad thing either, but there's a different direction and dynamic that's going to be there. And I learned that when I was starting to construct the desire to go to Florence for Pitti. I had a conversation with several guys who had been on the inside, who are going there um, for the conference, essentially for the show. They were like, there are guys who are sitting outside in the courtyard and they're mingling and doing all these other things, and they get to network and they do these experiences. But then there are guys who get their pass, they have their lanyard, and they're going into the actual expo, and you're seeing the different shifts in style and what the market is going to start to trend to, the daily wears. It's like going to a fashion show and then going into a buying experience with the actual company in their showroom. Two different dynamics. And there's plenty of people at Fashion Week who have no idea on the business of fashion and style and the dynamics that are there. And it changes your perspective when you go into the expo. When I went to the Dallas market, I have several friends who are going to Chicago Collective. It's a different dynamic. It's a different understanding of style and how you are curating a actual expression and perspective. Ms. William didn't say, I agree, admit the authenticity. I definitely wore ensembles all week that I would have worn in Charlotte or in Atlanta, etc. I think that that's important, right? There's an authenticity that happens there as well. So I'm also asking, like, how are you constructing these networks? How are you building these contacts? How are you building the experience? Because for the guys who sit outside, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you've made great networks, if you guys are talking about collaborations for a potential podcast or potential interviews or any of those different types of things, I think it's a great leverage point for how you can continue to grow your brand. If you're going there to just be seen and get followings, like, it's a great way to collaborate on, hey, follow for a follow type situation, especially if you're going out there with your camera and you're capturing content. What a great way for you to even just get your photo taken, get your images, end up on some of these blogs, have your following, right? So that people know where to find you to grow that influence. But if you're going to do that, you better have some shit that people want to follow afterwards. There's nothing worse for me than for a person to do all of that and then I go to their page like, oh man, you killed the game, and then I get there and they on some BS, or like it was all for show. Because then you're not building anything. You haven't built an audience. I feel like I got played, right? I feel like you got over on me in that space. Or if you are looking to collaborate, quote unquote, and then nothing comes of it, it doesn't really benefit. So for me, as I've started to think about like the leverage points and the things that I want to utilize, I was like, for me, if I'm going to Pitti, I talked to my man Gear a few times via Instagram with what was going on. Happy New Year, my man. Ahmad Blake, my homie. What's going on, bro? Um, we were having a conversation, and he was like, you know, brief, very, 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 very brief, about Pitti, and that it may be shifting. I don't. This is hearsay, but that it may be shifting, or there's a different dynamic, um, and Pitti may not continue, at least in the same space that it is. Again, hearsay. He may have been saying. I may have misunderstood what he was saying as well. This is all alleged. And if it was the case, I was like, damn, am I going to be upset about not making it? What does that say about me? And I've thought about like the fashionable, the stylish guys. My man, Mr. Will Dingle, is a part of Black Menswear. They do a flash mob around the country for Black men and men of color, which is dope. Um, and I've watched things of that nature, and I realized with a lot of stylish guys aren't dressing for themselves. They're not dressing to be true to who they are and what they want to really represent to the world. A lot of guys, not all, but a lot, are dressing for the attention, for the appreciation instead of appreciating themselves and letting other people experience them. This is why when I look at Pitti, I see a lot of the guys looking like they're wearing a costume, not because they aren't stylish, not because they're not stylish, but because they're looking for the recognition. And then I see the guys who are fly here in Atlanta. One of the flyest guys in Atlanta doesn't really have a following. Guy I work with, um, one of the owners of Guffey's, one of the flyest guys, like truly, not gonna get a whole lot of recognition. He doesn't. He's not some. He's very notable. He's not popular. And I think that that's a dynamic that a lot of guys should start thinking about. Some of the best dressed guys at Pitti that I was observing had on blue suit, blue top coat, but the silhouette is amazing. Their button placement is great. The way that the shoulders fall with the Neapolitan look on one, and then a Roman tailoring silhouette on another, and then even different, more differently, a Vincenzo finish on the other. Or when we were talking about the British element, like the difference in the shoulder line, in the padding, in the soft tailoring, in the fabrication that they are utilizing. And it's interesting, the guys who've gone maybe 3 or 4 times in a row, or who are frequenting Pitti, you start to see that their expression starts to become a little bit more subdued. And I'm starting to realize that a lot of that, I believe, I could be completely wrong, but I believe is because they are starting to recognize it doesn't take all of that to be all of that. It's in the languaging a lot of times. It's when we are trying to sound intelligent, even though we already are intelligent by utilizing big words. It disconnects us from other people because it doesn't create any tribalism. Now, if you are that eccentric, over the top, extra, avant garde, eccentric type of dude, then I should see that in everything that you do. You're probably a little bit louder. You're probably a little bit more expressive. You talk with your hands. You move a little bit different, right? And then it aligns with your style. It aligns with your character. But when I see these guys who, when I saw them, they're trying to move their top coat out of the way, move their suit jacket out of the way, and then I saw a few videos of like guys missing their pockets. I'm like, you new to this, you're not true to this. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But you still are trying to find your way, and I think that that's a beautiful thing, to find your way. But once you find it, you start realizing there is a lot of subtleties that you can leverage. And I apologize. I should have made a listing of some of the people that I really enjoyed. Sartorial. No, I'm on my phone, just so you know. That's why I'm looking down. Sartorial. They do the Sartorial Club. the CEO of the Sartorial Club, woman, fly, shirling, leather jacket, double-breasted waistcoat. I believe she had on a tie for Pitti, fly. And I know that she does this, right? I know we're talking to the fellas, but she did that, right? And it was true to who she was and what she wanted to represent, because that's how she maneuvers. Denise, yes, she is super cool. I believe that she was super cool. She's super cool online. But there's authenticity and a consistency that happens, and that's the goal for a dressing room, is to help men find their consistency, their signature style. Just like you sign your name and nobody else can sign their name just like you, nobody else has the same fingerprint as you. These are the things that you should create as an identifier. And so before, this is not to tell you to go to Pitti or not to go to Pitti. Before you go to Pitti, though, I would encourage the lot of everybody to find competence, right? Or find confidence in their competence when it comes to their clothing. What is it that you frequently find yourself going after, and how in depth have you taken that experience or that exploration? Because for a lot of guys, what I've realized is they're doing all of these different types of things because they still don't have a sense of awareness of who they are. You see a guy like Lino Iluzzi, if you guys don't know who that is an Italian merchant who lives in Milan. And if you've seen him, he always gives you the thumbs up, and he wears a tie that says 7 on it. It's one of his brands. He really comes out in the same thing over and over again. When I've looked at him over the years, his look has been very, very consistent, right, over time. And it's partly because he realized he doesn't have to do too much. This guy is considered a style icon by many, and he's able to leverage that. And the more consistent that you can do, the more consistent you find your character and you find yourself being, the little touch points or the nuances are the things that actually drive interest. So a few years back, and I apologize, as an Asian gentleman who I follow, whose name is escaping me. Um, but for me, it was a memorable look. He had on a double-breasted navy blazer, navy turtleneck, white trousers, some tobacco snuff suede boots, but then he paired that with this military green tactical jacket that he was wearing over, and it was full, it was heavy, and it was for the winter period. Not doing too much, some light work, but it had all the expression in the world. I saw another guy, my homeboy Daryl. I think the first day that he was there, he threw on a barber jacket, but the barber jacket had been reconstituted into a cape. And I was like, I said, my G, is that a cape? That's dope. That's a hard look. Now everything else was still the same, and it was true to what Daryl was representing. And I was like, and that's dope. And you start to find that the subtleties are where the magic lies. This is why I always say God and the devil lie in the details, right? You could be godly and divine and elevated, or you could be a little, seductive and sultry and a little mischievous when you want to, depending on these different types of details that you're putting in. But it doesn't require much. It's you getting some peccary gloves, right, that are green, and you've had them for years, and so they're starting to garner a patina on the tips of the fingers, and you have, rakishly put it into your coat, your top coat pocket, so that sticks out. And maybe you've done it a little bit different and turned them upside down so that it looks like a pocket square, but that's really where your gloves are. And you have a different inner lining on the inside of the gloves that's a yellow or camel shearling, but it's paired off of your navy blue top coat, right? Instead of you having the over accentuated colors, right? Or plaid, you have something that's subdued with a gray and a brown. Check, right? Super subtle, but it's a flannel gray, a dove gray with a more mud type of check in the jacket. Pair that with a pair of mid whale corduroy trousers in that same chocolate cover, and then maybe you've added a powder blue a powder blue turtleneck, right? Or you've even kept it even more simple and you just added a chocolate turtleneck with some chocolate chuckle boots. Those are things that people are going to pay attention to. Now, if you're on the other side and you're the extra dude, maybe you've shown a level of refinement, sophistication, and taste by having something colorful. I saw one guy, I believe, in a Black Watch tartan, could be wrong, but Black Watch tartan pant. He did that, paired that with this beautiful burgundy. It was really more of a wine top, a black turtleneck, and some black Chelsea boots, then pair that with this beautiful dark military coat, fly. But it's tasteful, it's sophisticated, it's refined, it's thoughtful. And that thought is about knowing who he is and how he wants to show up in that space. So it just gave me some pause for thought. And I wanted to hear your thoughts, especially for the people who went. Mr. Will Dingle went. I saw somebody else who had the opportunity to go, if I wasn't mistaken. Um, who else? Oh, my man, Max Twitty. So, thank you for sharing your perspectives. Just know, like for me, style is always about communication. That's why it doesn't really require if you a fly motherfucker, right? Excuse my French, right? You don't really need to talk too loud, folks. Folks know you. Zeb Color says, speaking of authenticity, you also get those annoying Luca Filoni ads with the narrator using exaggerated fake English accent. Very annoying. I have not experienced that, Zeb, but I will take your word for it. So yeah, if you are a stylish guy, you're a sartorial guy, I'm sure that Pitti is probably on your list of places to experience. I'm looking to potentially go, more so to eat. I have a contact influence that I would love to connect with to see some of the artisans there and to experience the actual trade show. I think that would be very interesting, and potentially we'll have the opportunity to do that coming up. If you see me, say what up. You know what I'm saying? Give me the what's up. Give me a pound. You know what I'm saying? So we can engage in that space. But outside of that, listen, I don't want guys. I think my overall message is that I don't want guys to feel like that has to be a need. Because when I went to New York Fashion Week, I thought that it had to be a need, and it really didn't. It didn't help me drive anything forward. I didn't really get a following or anything like that from Fashion Week. I actually was getting more love and attention and recognition from New York Times on a day to day from what I was wearing day to day, and from bloggers from what I was wearing day to day. The special events are not that special clothing wise when you are being authentic and true to yourself, because then you find that the stuff that you were wearing day to day, people start to recognize you for, because you simply have moved who you are, what you want to say to the world, and your authenticity to that new space. So you become the ambassador for yourself in that space, and people just want to know who you are. And the closer and the more sincere you can be with that, the better it is for everybody who's involved, because they get to experience you no matter where you are. So I'm on my soapbox there. Um, thank you for everybody. I didn't see nobody on YouTube leaving any comments or thoughts, but thank you for watching. For my folks on Facebook as well, and for my folks on Instagram, I will be dropping 2 videos because I'm late dropping my 5+5 mistakes that every guy, even the stylish guys, are making. So I'm still getting some B-roll together for that, but that should be dropping no later than Wednesday, and then you'll have another video that's going to be dropping on Friday that will give you some insights on what you should be paying attention to. This is my one, maybe out of 5 videos that every guy needs to pay attention to. So when it comes to your anatomical features, your body, there are things that guys are not paying attention to with their tailoring, with when it comes to their personal presentation, that is causing issues. It's causing a lot of issues. So you're gonna want to make sure that you check out that video upcoming on Friday before we start talking about body types and how to wear items and all those other different elements from a sartorial standpoint. Outside of that, I don't see any more comments. So be great today. Hopefully next week. Listen, every week we're praying video quality is going to be better. But you can hear me, you can see me. So hopefully next week we'll be ready to go there. Outside of that, be great today. But then again, you already are. So now all you have to do is show up and show out in style. Remembering that dress is nothing more than the expression of a man's state of mind. So you, as you, should always dress to address your life and your style, even at Pitti. See you next time. Peace.